Hey, welcome in everybody to the DFS Minute. This will be an NHL breakdown. I'm going to jump in as quickly as I can cold. Haven't looked at anything, haven't opened up anything. Well, I mean, I've opened up some tabs, but haven't looked at anything when it comes to an NHL slate. I want to see how quickly I can break it down using tools here at dfsarmy.com. Basically, one-stop shopping for everything daily fantasy sports, basketball, football, golf, doesn't matter. Golf's getting ready to roll here in the next couple of weeks. So you guys are going to stay tuned to that. DFSarmy.com, coupon code CHOP, CHOP, unlocks a 20% off discount for you if you are new to us, and that price never changes. As if ours go up, yours stay the same. I am a lead coach content contributor here at the site, and this is one of the things that I enjoy doing. So if you like this material, like and subscribe to the video. The DFS minutes typically are conceptualized talk designed to be under 10 minutes. I don't know how long this is going to take today, so buckle up. Let's kind of dive in. We're not less than a minute into the video. So first thing I do is I run to whatever site I want to play NHL. Let the slate sort of load up. Wanted to do the main slate, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games shouldn't be too terrible. See a couple of 6.5s. Then I might want to look for targets in these two games. I'm going to look for, you're going to need goalies to confirm. You're going to need some plays and stuff. We've got cheat sheets here under the NHL tab uh, for people that are wondering where to make things even faster. But I like to use those as validation towards what I'm already thinking and what I already see. And when they line up, then I feel pretty confident about what I'm doing and kind of roll accordingly. If I go through here and look at these 5 games, the first thing I'm going to do is uncheck lines 3 and lines 4. I'm going to make about 20 lineups. I'm going to have 3 or 4 unique players. Let's do 4 today just for shits and grins. I don't randomize anything. I don't mess with anything else. All I'm trying to do at this point is get 20 lineups through the optimizer and let it tell me projection-wise sort of who I should be looking at team offense-wise. It's going to have 3 or 4 skaters from team A in it and 3 or 4 skaters from team B in it, and that's going to help me determine maybe where the public goes that just clicks buttons and pushes optimize, and that's going to help me either decide to stay with that or get away from that in terms of chalk. In NHL being such a volatile sport, you really kind of can't go wrong if you pretty much just always fade the chalk, because the chalk fails in NHL more than any other sport. So while that's crunching lineups, I'm going to run out to the research station. I'm going to size this down just a smidge so that I can now kick this thing over here and get a look at the full slate all at once. And I'm going to be looking for implied team totals and big favorites. This is the next thing that I do. It's a very, very generic way to research the slate. I won't be using the 2 o'clock game. It's already gone off. 5 o'clock is probably the second one. I need the 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock games. Well, hopefully, I don't know where the main slate starts yet, but let's call it here at the 6 o'clock games, okay? Um, Minnesota and New York, both low ITTs. Won't be much more than one off out of that game. 3.4, Boston Bruins. 3.4 is the actual inflection point you're looking for when it comes to hockey. Historically speaking, teams with implied team totals of 3.4 or higher typically perform. Take that for what it's worth. I mean, they don't always perform, and a lot of times you can be on line 2 and line 1 does the damage. But typically speaking, that is an indicator that this team is set up pretty well. Doesn't mean 3.3 is unplayable. It means focus on 3.4 or higher. So I'd be looking at implied team totals, which with a minus 220 favorite against them, it also means that if I was a GPP contrarian kind of guy, I'd stack Buffalo against Boston because nobody's going to pin their hopes on them, and they've got some damage in Jack Eichel and some of those other players that can really actually do damage on any given night. So that would be something to consider. When you play hockey, you're always thinking about what's likely to happen, and you always understand that it's a coin flip away from the unlikely happening as well. So in hockey, you can play both. You can pretty much run wide open and play both. But I'd be focused here on Boston. Scroll down a little bit more. I'd be focused. This can't be right. Oh my goodness. Minus 370 and a 5. Okay, everybody's going to be on Tampa Bay. That's just all there is to that. Would I stack Detroit? I don't know. That would be like the ultimate GPP type of play. And unless I was going to turn a dollar into like $2,000, I don't know if I would take that chance. But I mean, in hockey, shit, strange stuff happens. But this minus 370 tells me everybody's going to be on McElhinney and everybody's going to be on the Tampa Bay Lightning, expecting them to score 5 goals. Doesn't matter. Probably, I don't know, could happen. Probably won't. But who knows? That's just a nasty implied team total. So Boston, Tampa Bay. I mean, it doesn't mean they're not in a good spot. They're obviously in a good spot. Florida, outside shot at Montreal, because Florida plays crappy defense, as we know. 2.6, you can largely forget about this game. That should be it. No, one more. 2.8, 2.8, largely forget about that game. Why? You just have better options. 3.5, Calgary. So if I go back up through these games, I'm looking at the offenses of Calgary. Get past this next one here. Back up to Florida. Of course, Tampa Bay and Boston. So that gives me 4 offenses to target. And I have no problem if you just fade off Tampa Bay and say, you know, crap happens in hockey. So that gives us a place to start when it comes to today's research. If I was going through Tampa Bay, I would be looking for who in the last 5 and last 10 games has been doing a lot of the shooting and a lot of the scoring. If I see shots on goal and blocked shots, I see 36, 42. I might focus on line 2 here if I was the type of guy that says stick with the hot hand, but I might also stick with a little bit different theory. Line 1 at home, line 2 on the road, being that they're at home, probably stick with line 1. These are things that can happen, but you're really just looking for guys that are shooting the puck a lot. So I might stick with a Kucherov, I might stick with a Victor Hedman, I might stick down here with a Stamkos or whatever. I get it, they're the high-priced guys, but that's how you would do it. Once I get those guys targeted, I can go into the skaters tab. And I can scroll over here and I can organize, say, those last 10 games by FanDuel points in decreasing order, and I can bring the guys up to the top. And this is where I find most of my value plays. So I've already got my offenses targeted. And now I can come over here and start looking for my value plays. Start with defense. Up top are the guys that are producing the most points over the last 10 games. I'm looking for out-of-price guys. 3,900 Neil Pionk. Thank you. Big value play on FanDuel. See how he's priced up on DraftKings already? It's not priced up on FanDuel. You'd be playing him on FanDuel for sure. Ryan Pulak, Vitanen out of New Jersey. These are all, if they are on your slate, you might have to go through here and kick off some of the early slate teams. But if they are on the main slate, these are guys that I might be watching for. I don't know that I'd get down to a Roenick in Detroit just yet, but I'd focus on one of these guys, and I'd probably pay up for somebody like a Hedman. Hedman Pionk, Hedman Pulak, something like Vitanen, something like that probably makes a lot of sense. I would go to centers next, and I would do the same thing. I would start looking for those guys scoring a lot of points that are priced out. See how these 7s and 8s are up too high? I would come down here, 6,800. I might consider a Blake Wheeler. I might consider a Tyler Seguin. I didn't like that Dallas game. It wasn't one that I would like to target. Dylan Larkin in Detroit again. So we've got a couple of Detroit guys that are bringing value lately. That might be something that nobody's on that we can get on. Denal in Montreal, I said outside shot at Montreal. So all I'm trying to do is find these guys with this value here. And I see a couple of them here and there, and then I can pay up in another spot if I want. Wings is typically where I pay down. I'll pay up at goalie, I'll pay up at defense, I'll pay up at center. Why? Because those guys are usually more consistent sources of points. Your wings contain a ton of your upside, but they also contain a low floor as a general rule. So when I'm looking here for my wings, I can find, this is great, Duclair still at 4,800 is bringing a lot of points over the last 10 games. He's still really, really cheap. Look how expensive he is on DraftKings. Come down here, 5,100, Alex Killorn, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's in a great spot today. People focus on line 1. Boom, I come down here to line 2, and I might have some lower ownership with a Killorn who's outperforming Stamkos, actually. Well, I guess he's not, but he's outperforming a lot of other people around the league, and for a far less price. 66, 72, 60. So there's not really a punt in this category. But you can see kind of where I'm going with this. And then I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to cross-check with my optimized lineups and see what I like to see in this particular instance. Who do I see? Victor Hedman's in everything. So there's probably a cash lock button type of player that I would have in my cash lineup for sure. Killorn, we already just spotted that one. Case in Anaheim. If you don't want to target Anaheim, fine. If you want to use him as a one-off play, fine. Clayton Keller in Arizona, Edler, whatever. I'm noticing here, Tampa, 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 scroll down, Tampa, Tampa. Of course, Tampa Bay's everywhere. Anaheim, Anaheim, Anaheim. It's weird that they're popping on the sheet today. And I look down a little bit further, Florida, Boston, Boston, Boston. Boston's pricey, but Boston's popping. So again, we saw those teams already in Boston, Tampa Bay, Calgary. I'm surprised it's not on here all that much. Giordano's up here. Or go down a little bit more. I mean, if it's me and I'm a tournament guy, I might focus on some Calgary because it looks like they're not showing up in the optimizer, which means that a lot of people that just auto-click buttons might not be on them. So that's the kind of thing that I might focus on for tournaments. If it happens, then I'm probably sitting alone for a while and have an easier pathway to the top of the leaderboards. Everybody's going to be on Tampa Bay. People are probably going to be on Boston. They carry a big name. So this is probably where I would pivot to. And the other thing that I will do is I'll dive over here into daily face-off, starting goalies. And once that kicks in, I'll start looking for who's confirmed for sure. And then what I would do is I would go through our optimizer or around the industry or whatever, and I would make sure I uncheck the other guys. Not the not confirmed. If he is supposed to play, I'd leave him in. But if he is definitely confirmed, I would go uncheck Vasilevsky in this case because he's not going to play. And I don't want an optimizer to accidentally throw him in to my lineups, okay? So what I look for on this site is confirmed or likely. If I see likely, I go ahead and I uncheck the other guy. If I see unconfirmed, I wait for better news. And you just rock and roll that way. Build your lineups, run a bunch of them because the hockey, again, is wide open. The difference between Tampa Bay 1 and Boston 1 tonight is probably splitting hairs. One looks way better on paper, but in reality, it's probably splitting hairs. You could probably find some value or a little bit of differentiation if you go with Tampa Bay 2 or certainly with Boston 2. And then if you run into Calgary, you'll probably find some differentiation there too, and maybe even some Montreal. If you wanted to be really, truly goofy contrarian, you would probably go back to where we talked about here, and you would probably stack against Boston with Buffalo. They weren't popping on the optimizer for good reason. You probably would stack against Tampa Bay with Detroit. And what you're doing is you're double dipping on those points. When everybody runs the massive favorite goalie out there, and then you've got the skaters that are not only beating him, but taking away the loss from him, but also putting on the points. You're getting not only the goal against your opponents that's destroying their lineups, but you're also getting the goal for your team, which is parlaying that into sort of a double dip, if you will. Those are a couple of quick tips for you today. If you like the content, again, like and subscribe to the video. Sorry for all the chewing in the background. I've got a kid home on Sunday afternoon. It's what happens when you've got kids home from school on holidays. But like and subscribe to the video. Consider becoming VIP, dfsarmy.com. I'm Chopping On, and we love to talk to you guys more inside about DFS strategy for all sports. Take care.